My ex-wife had been in a car accident and lost her memory. She had reverted to being a 20-year-old version of herself, with her memories halting at the point when she loved me the most. "James, so 10 years later you're my husband?" Sophia exclaimed. Surprised and delighted, she jumped off the hospital bed and ran up to hug me tightly. "Am I dreaming? Oh my God, my crush has come true." I stood frozen, shocked, as she wrapped her arms around me, but all I felt was a deep sense of emptiness. "Sophia, you forgot," I said softly. "We got divorced last month, and you were the one who cheated." Chapter 1. It was New Year's, a time of joy for everyone, but there I was, the fool, waiting alone at the Civil Affairs Bureau. I waited all day hoping my ex-wife would show up, but when the staff left for the day, she still hadn't arrived. Damn it! She was the one who filed for divorce, signed the agreement, and now she was playing hide and seek when it was time to finalize the procedure. What was the point of all this? Anger burned in my eyes as I called her repeatedly, but her phone was turned off. As darkness fell and the Civil Affairs Bureau closed its doors, it was clear there was no way I'd get the divorce done that day. I trudged to the parking lot ready to leave, but just as I started the car, my phone rang. "Hello, are you a relative of Miss Sophia? This is the First People's Hospital. Miss Sophia has been in a car accident." Chapter 2. Great. The divorce didn't go through, and now I was getting scam calls. Without hesitation, I answered, "Yes, I'm Sophia's husband. Is she about to die? Don't waste medical resources on her. Just give up and send her to the morgue." I said it. I'd take full responsibility. "You can just push her into the morgue." The person on the other end was stunned. "Miss Sophia only has a fractured leg," the doctor said, sounding young and evidently inexperienced. He seemed rattled. "We've already put a cast on her leg. Could you possibly come down?" I was suspicious but politely declined. "It's just a fracture, no big deal. I'm busy, so I won't come." He sounded disappointed, but then asked, "Miss Sophia was with Mr. Ethan in the accident. We can't reach his family. Do you know him?" Hearing that name, I became alert. "I know him. What happened to him?" "He's seriously injured with extensive bruising. His hand may be disabled, and he'll have significant scarring." My mood instantly brightened. "I'll be right there," I shouted with excitement. "You're at the First People's Hospital, right? Which floor? What room? I'll be there in 20 minutes. "We're on the 5th floor of the second campus," the doctor replied. I hung up and floored the gas pedal. My black SUV shot through traffic like a shark cutting through the water. After hearing the news, I couldn't help but feel elated. Sure, my ex-wife had broken her leg, but Ethan, the pretty boy who was now disfigured and possibly disabled, was the real showstopper. Good news like this didn't come often. How could I pass up on this opportunity? Chapter 3. When it came to Sophia, I felt indifferent, but hearing about Ethan's injuries drove me to rush over. Even taking the stairs because I couldn't wait for the elevator, I was anxious. Eager not to miss the spectacle, the doctor could hardly believe how quickly I arrived. Bursting into the room, I couldn't contain my excitement. "Where's Ethan? How's his hand? How big are the scars? Let me see." I was practically jumping with joy. Everyone in the room stared at me awkwardly, but I wasn't the least bit embarrassed. I was filled with pure joy. "Where is he?" I demanded. But the next moment, the bed curtain parted, and Sophia was lying there with a cast on her leg, looking confused as she stared at me. My expression darkened instantly. She looked at me, her voice trembling. "Are you James's brother?" I sneered. "I'm your father," I replied. This seemed to hit Sophia hard. She clutched her head in pain and collapsed back onto the bed. The doctor quickly pulled me out of the room and explained, "Ms. Stone has a concussion, which is causing memory confusion. She knows general knowledge. But when asked about her age, she insists she's 20 years old." I wasn't paying much attention, still rattled by the situation. The doctor continued, "Mr. Ethan's room is on the 6th floor. He's still in critical condition, but you can see him through the glass." Without another word, I rushed up, leaving everyone staring at each other. When I reached the 6th floor, I saw Ethan with my own eyes, lying there, wrapped in bandages. His right hand was twisted awkwardly, and his once handsome face was a mess. I felt a slight twinge of pity for him, But then I remembered what he had done to me. That pity disappeared. I wasn't a good person. Chapter 4. When I returned to the 5th floor, I took out cash from my wallet and began handing out red envelopes to everyone in the room. Yes, I wanted to share in my joy, and they certainly felt it. The doctor's hand trembled slightly as he held the money. "Mr. Charles," he said, "the patient's condition is a bit complicated, and our medical facilities here are limited." I waved my hand dismissively, brimming with bravado. "She thinks she's 20? Fine, let her think that. No big deal. I think you all are doing a great job. Treat her however you see fit, even if it goes wrong. I won't complain." The room fell silent, everyone at a loss for words. The doctors, nurses, and Sophia's secretary and lawyer stood quietly in the corner, visibly avoiding my gaze. I couldn't help but laugh. I don't have any say in Sophia's treatment. Finally, I admitted to the doctor, "Though the legal formalities haven't been completed, we've signed the divorce agreement. I can no longer represent her affairs." I pointed to the corner where the secretary and lawyer stood, both unable to meet my eyes, trying harder to hide from me. "You can discuss things with them," I added. It was hard not to find the situation amusing. They were the ones who helped with the divorce, yet here they were, just employees. I pulled out a cigarette, placed it between my lips, and bit down without lighting it. "Don't be afraid of me. I'm not a bad guy," I said, smiling at them. The secretary stood awkwardly, her body language screaming that she wanted to disappear. The lawyer, a young woman with an old-fashioned air about her, blushed at my smile. "Mr. Charles," she stammered, her face turning crimson. Even her wire-rimmed glasses couldn't hide her embarrassment. "You didn't have to come," she said. I was calm, unbothered. "I'm leaving anyway," I replied nonchalantly. At that moment, the curtain around Sophia's bed was pulled open. Sophia, who had been suffering from another headache, was awake again. The secretary quickly approached her. Sophia, with her memory frozen at 20, looked around, disoriented. Her eyes landed on me, filled with confusion. "James, how did you become like this? You look well, a bit older." I touched my face, smiling a little. Yeah, after 10 years, who wouldn't age? I didn't feel the need to argue with this potential lunatic, so I turned to leave. Suddenly, there was a loud noise behind me. Sophia, struggling to move with her leg in a cast, tried to get out of bed but fell to the floor. She began frantically crawling toward me, screaming, "James, don't go!" The secretary tried to help her up, but Sophia shoved her away. With only 20 years of memory, Sophia didn't recognize her closest aides. Her face was a mixture of confusion, misunderstanding, and desperation. "I don't even know you! Leave me alone!" she shouted. "James, wait for me! Take me with you!" She lay on the floor, screaming, her voice full of panic, calling out to the one person she believed was her lifeline. Chapter 5. I was already outside the hospital room when I heard the commotion and turned back in shock. Sophia had once been a hotshot tech tycoon. She built her business from the ground up, becoming famous at a young age. By the time she was 25 or 26, she was already a well-known CEO, addressed politely as Miss Stone by everyone. With fame came a cold aloofness. She kept everyone at arm's length, never letting anyone get too close. But now, here she was, sprawled on the floor, completely uncomposed, desperately crawling toward me. I suddenly turned back, squatted down in front of her and asked, "Do you really only recognize me? Who am I?" Without hesitation, Sophia grabbed my arm. She was terrified, afraid I would leave her again. She answered fluently, "You're James. You live next door to me. Your dad is named Charles. Your mom's a high school teacher, and you're severely allergic to peanuts and seafood. If you eat even a little, you swell up immediately." Her response was spot on. My mouth twitched slightly. "You think you're 20, right? Then think back. When we were 20, we were in our sophomore year of college. Look at your face now. Do you still look like a college student?" Sophia touched her face and then glanced at me, her expression suddenly turning red. "I heard the doctor call you," she mumbled. She sat on the floor with her broken leg, her face serious and solemn, but her gaze started to drift again. "I know I'm not 20, she admitted. When I saw you, I knew I must have hit my head and forgotten the past few years. She clutched my arm and said softly, You're my husband now. I didn't say anything. At that moment, I felt exhausted. Before coming here, I had spent the whole day at the Civil Affairs Bureau, watching couples marry and others separate, each one filled with either joy or hatred. I told myself that when Sophia and I separated, I wouldn't end up like them, torn between love and hate. I would leave with dignity, focused on my reputation, but I hadn't expected Sophia to risk her life, recklessly driving at high speeds with that pretty boy. Crashing into a guardrail, I stood up, but Sophia gripped my arm tightly. Refusing to let go, I had no choice but to pull her up with me. She stood on one foot, her leg in a cast, looking at her secretary and lawyer like a wounded animal separated from its pack. To free myself, I pulled the secretary over and said to Sophia, You are Sophia, 30 years old. You're the founder and CEO of Changu Technology. These are your secretary and lawyer, people you can trust. Sophia frowned as she looked at them. I smiled and said, Although you don't remember, congratulations. By the time you're 30, you've indeed become very successful. But Sophia just stared at me. How long have we been married? She asked. I answered patiently, 5 years. Sophia did the math in her head and her eyes began to drift again. We got together right after college, so do we have any children? I paused before answering. Yes, I said quietly, but at 4 months, we lost it. At my words, Sophia took a step back, her body reacting instinctively. She released my arm and began shaking uncontrollably, but she didn't understand why she reacted this way. She stood there, bewildered, shaking violently. A sudden pain overwhelmed her, tearing through her chest, causing her to lose control. She held her head in pain. James, I watched coldly, indifferent, as she collapsed again. Clutching her head, I stood there with my hands in my pockets, observing her trembling on the hospital bed, her face contorted in agony, tears streaming down her cheeks. Doctors and nurses rushed to her side, caught off guard by the sudden change amidst the chaos. I turned to the secretary and said, Please reschedule with the Civil Affairs Bureau. We'll finalize everything next Wednesday. The secretary looked at me in panic, hesitated, and couldn't find the words to respond. By that point, I had already turned to leave. Chapter 6. I got married when I was 25, neither too early nor too late. It was the perfect timing, just when we were at our poorest. I couldn't even scrape together $100, so I bought a $58 strawberry cake, lit a candle on it, and proposed to Sophia with it. It wasn't simple. It was downright shabby. Other couples celebrate with flowers, diamond rings, and romantic dinners, but we had only that cake. We crammed into a rented apartment, eating the cake, our faces covered in frosting. Still hungry after the cake, I went into the kitchen to cook instant noodles. The kitchen was tiny, filled with steam from the boiling pot. Sophia suddenly walked in and asked, Why don't we get married? I was stunned for a moment and replied, Sure. So we finished our noodles and went to the Civil Affairs Bureau the next day to get our marriage certificate, becoming legally married. We grew up next to each other, childhood sweethearts. My heart, like hers, shifted from youthful ignorance to maturity. There were no unforgettable first loves, no pretentious courtships, and no unexpected third wheels. We were soulmates, fighting side by side. By 30, my company had secured several projects, technology and investments flooding in like a tide. We seized that opportunity and became part of the city's elite. At 31, I caught Sophia and her male secretary in bed, and our marriage shattered instantly. Right there in my own home, Sophia lay on the bed, still hungover, unaware of what had happened when we barged in. I poured a bottle of mineral water on her face, and Ethan, wrapped in a towel, was cornered in the bathroom by my friends. One man, 3 friends. Seeing so many of my buddies, Ethan was panic-stricken, almost begging for mercy. Miss Stone asked me to accompany her, he stammered. I'm just an intern. How could I refuse the boss? My friends rolled up their sleeves, ready to teach him a lesson. If I had known you had this kind of talent, I would have transferred you to the marketing department, I said, smiling sinisterly. Our client, Mr. Wong, likes young men. If you can't refuse others, why not do this right and get that deal? The year-end bonus is at least $100,000. Ethan didn't expect my twisted logic and was speechless for a moment, realizing that I was serious about using him. He clutched his towel and feebly defended himself. I'm truly in love with Miss Stone. I nearly laughed at his stupidity but couldn't for long, because Sophia, her face pale, got dressed and calmly got up from the bed to ask me for a divorce. Yes, she wanted a divorce, ignoring the shared property, ignoring the company's operations. She was determined to get my wedding ring off my hand. Within 3 months, she packed her things and moved out. That night, I made a scene, cursing and smashing up the office, but our marriage was already in ruins. This severely impacted my mental state, and I was tricked by her trusted secretary during the divorce negotiations. The divorce agreement stated that the company had nothing to do with me. I could only take 1/3 of the shared property, even the house my parents paid for. Sophia wanted half. I couldn't believe it, but it was too late. Everything was in disarray. When I finally accepted reality and agreed to the divorce, this foolish woman, Sophia, had a car accident and lost her memory. Chapter 7. Sophia truly remembered nothing. All her experiences over the years were erased by the car accident. She embodied the saying, after half a lifetime, returning as a girl. Company affairs, business dealings, none of it made sense to her. The 20-year-old version of Miss Stone, stuck in her memory, could only solve quadratic equations, not run a company. She sat there, staring blankly at the documents her secretary brought, but she still remembered me. Even I couldn't recall what I was like at 20, but 20-year-old Sophia was so vivid and beautiful that it was hard to pretend not to notice, especially since she only recognized me. Chapter 8. To be honest, the one thing that truly surprised me over the years was how bold Sophia's trusted secretary had become. After all, during the divorce turmoil, this woman had tricked me. She secretly helped Sophia transfer company shares, then used the board to oust me. I lost control and management of the company, along with many shares, at least $50 million. Among all the shared property, I only got a fraction. The last time I was in the hospital, I was just being polite, pretending to be nice, but I didn't expect her to be so audacious. This trusted secretary actually brought Sophia to my house to block me, because Sophia wanted to see me. The secretary used me as bait, coaxing the very immature female CEO to participate in an important executive meeting, then fulfilled her promise by bringing her to block me. Chapter 9. When they arrived, I was in the middle of moving. The same day, I caught Sophia cheating, and with the divorce looming, she moved out of our shared house. Naturally, I couldn't stay there either. A friend found me an apartment, and I completed the purchase last month. Most of the essentials were already set up, but I couldn't part with the good furniture in the house. After all, these belongings weren't cheap, and soon someone else would be enjoying them. If that was the case, I might as well take them with me. So when we met, the atmosphere felt strange. The secretary was awkward, knowing how much money she had cost me. I felt guilty, as I was secretly moving our marital assets. This time, the secretary decided to take the initiative. Brother Charles, you know I'm just an employee. We each serve our own master. Miss Stone gave me a great opportunity, and I can't mess this up. I rolled my eyes at her. Yes, yes. The kindness of being taken care of must be repaid with utmost dedication, right? I deserve this bad luck. She only lost her boss, but I lost $50 million. The two of us whispered on the balcony, while Sophia had already toured the house. When she saw the secretary and me talking, she couldn't stay calm. She walked over and pulled us apart. Pointing at the packed boxes, she asked, "Is this our new home? This house seems nice. Why are we moving? Or are we moving to a bigger, more luxurious place?" I looked at her coldly. "I'm the one moving out. You're staying here." Sophia didn't understand. I continued coldly. "Last month we agreed to divorce. The reason is that you cheated." Chapter 10. I never expected Sophia's reaction when she heard this. She was stunned for a moment, then burst into laughter, as if she had just heard the most unbelievable joke. She laughed heartily, her laughter so cheerful and carefree. "Don't joke like that," she said, her words full of disbelief. "Why would I divorce you? I'm 20. I looked at her with calm composure. "There is no everlasting feast, even you and I will separate." She said it so firmly as though it was the most obvious thing in the world. "If you said we never got together, I'd understand, but since we got married, I won't separate from you." This made me laugh. She had really forgotten so much. She forgot the cruel, harsh, and extremely unfavorable property division for me. She forgot the cold, apathetic expression she wore when she handed me the divorce agreement. She forgot that she told me, in her own words, "It's over. We both get relief." The Sophia whose memory had stopped at 20 was like this. She remembered nothing, knew nothing, and blindly believed that being together with me meant we would never separate. At that moment, malice surged in my heart. Why was I always the one who was hurt or wronged? No, I wanted to hurt her too. I wanted her to feel pain. So I asked her, "Why? Why do you think we wouldn't separate?" Sophia looked at me, her eyes shifting between the 20-year-old and 30-year-old versions of herself. Her gaze was focused and serious. "Because I loved you for so many years," she said, her voice sincere. "After all the effort to get you, how could I let you go?" Chapter 11. When she said that, the room fell silent. The secretary's expression cracked, unsure of why her amnesiac boss was acting like a fool, madly confessing to her ex-husband. I didn't say anything because the 20-year-old Sophia truly loved me, just as she said. It was rather mushy. After saying that, Sophia couldn't handle the tension and quickly found an excuse to check out the kitchen. The balcony was now empty, leaving just the secretary and me standing together. The secretary glanced at my face, not daring to speak. What could she say? "Congratulations. Our boss has fallen in love with you again." Or sorry, our boss isn't in her right mind, but the divorce must continue. She couldn't say anything. Nothing felt appropriate. This Sophia, who loved me so much, lived 10 years ago. Now, she had temporarily forgotten our conflicts. No matter how beautiful the dream, it was still a bubble. When she remembers everything, it will all revert to its original form. The 20-year-old Sophia could love me unconditionally, but the 30-year-old Sophia's love had already worn away. She found me detestable. Even now, with both versions of her overlapping briefly, our marriage was beyond repair. But as I watched Sophia wandering aimlessly in the kitchen, I suddenly smiled. This smile was light and gentle, like a spring breeze, as if I were truly delighted, as if I was back in the days of our passionate love. Maybe the genuine emotions of the 20-year-old Sophia touched me. Not only did I stop moving out, I even invited her to stay for dinner. Smiling warmly, I diligently began cooking. Yes, I looked at her with great tenderness, as though she were the person I loved most in the world. At first, Sophia was taken aback by the attention, but soon she gathered the courage to get used to it. Yes, now it was 10 years later. We had been married for 5 years. We were a married couple having dinner together. What was wrong with that? Seeing her in a daze, my smile grew even more. The amnesiac Sophia was still Sophia. The Sophia whose memory was stuck at 20 was still Sophia. Since she was Sophia, she could amend legal documents. She could give willingly. I thought I knew exactly how to reclaim my rightful $50 million. Chapter 12. When Sophia and I first began discussing the divorce, it felt like an all-out war. We fought relentlessly, as if the world was on the brink of collapsing. Since we had built the company together, splitting up caused chaos. Even the employees found themselves caught in the middle, forced to pick sides. Ethan, of course, was the catalyst, quickly becoming a pariah in the office. But after I was deceived and lost control of the company, everything shifted. In the end, what happened with my marriage was just that, my business. The employees, no matter how much they sympathized with me, still needed to make a living. They couldn't afford to let their loyalty to me cost them their paycheck. So, despite their disapproval of Ethan's actions, they quietly accepted him as the new boss. Ethan probably thought he had everything under control until Sophia and I walked into the company hand in hand. The entire office froze. Sophia, at 20, was still at the peak of her love for me. Even though I wasn't the same naive schoolboy she remembered, still not wearing a uniform and no longer innocent, She was pouring all her affection into me. I was no longer that boy. Over the years, I'd weathered many storms, and with my knowledge of her, it was almost easy to make her fall in love with me again. This turn of events shocked everyone, but most of the employees genuinely felt happy for us. Many of them had been with us from the beginning, witnessing everything we went through together. When our marriage hit rock bottom, they felt for us, and seeing us come together again, they were genuinely pleased. However, not everyone shared in the joy. The secretary, who had joined the company later, witnessed the worst of our relationship. She saw Sophia and me fall apart, and now she watched as the amnesiac Sophia acted like a fool, desperately trying to win me back. The secretary assumed that her boss's mind had just been clouded by the accident. She was cautious, afraid I would deceive Sophia and harm her interests. So, she tried to warn Sophia, offering harsh advice. Sophia gave a slight smile, then exploded with rage, slamming the table and nearly kicking the secretary out of the office. They almost came to blows. Chapter 13. The secretary's message to Sophia was straightforward, really. One simple sentence. Boss, this guy is not a good person. But Sophia's thoughts were far simpler. If James isn't a good person, then what does that make you? The veins on Sophia's forehead bulged as her face flushed with anger, her voice loud and unrestrained as she yelled in the office, disregarding her image. She was truly furious. I've known James for years. We've been neighbors, do you understand? When I was 16, my parents ran off after getting into debt. I couldn't even pay for my tuition. It was James who used all his pocket money to support me. He skipped breakfast every day so I could eat. Sophia's voice trembled with the anger rising in her chest. Her eyes were red as she shouted. James's family wasn't rich either, but when his parents found out what he was doing, they scolded him for interfering. James knelt down and begged them to help me, to give me a chance. Sophia gritted her teeth, her face hard with fury, but tears streamed down her cheeks as she continued. Why does everyone say he's bad? In this world, James is the best person to me. He's the only one I have. When I was 16, my mother sold me to the creditors and they wanted to chop off my hand. James stopped them, saying if they wanted to chop someone's hand, they should chop his instead. Sophia wiped away the tears, her voice trembling. You say James wants my money and my company? Without him, how could I possibly have the company I have today? Everything I have should belong to him. The secretary, drenched in coffee, looked completely embarrassed. I stood silently outside the office, listening to the shouting within. Employees passing by couldn't help but glance over, their expressions filled with curiosity, as if they were watching a dramatic scene unfold. They remembered the turmoil of our divorce, the cheating, the chaos, and now, here was the brain-damaged Sophia, emotional and enraged. Yet when she was of sound mind, she showed me no mercy, trying relentlessly to destroy me. No matter how deep the youthful love once was, this is how it ended. I said nothing. Chapter 14. Sophia wanted to continue her outburst, but I knocked on the door, drawing everyone's attention. It's already 12 o'clock, I said with a smile. What do you want to eat? I'm a bit hungry. As soon as my words reached Sophia, her anger instantly melted away. She immediately abandoned her fury, brushing off the secretary's well-meaning but harsh advice. She rushed over to me and pulled me outside. Let's hurry and eat, she urged. You often skip breakfast. You must be feeling unwell now. It's fine, I said, gently holding her hand. They mean well for you. No need to get so upset. Mentioning this made Sophia angry again. They say you want my money and my company. I smiled gently, even reaching up to wipe the sweat from her forehead. And what if I really wanted that? Then I'll give it all to you. Sophia, her eyes wide, blurted out, You're James. If you ask for something, how could I not give it to you? Hearing this, my smile widened, and I hugged her. I know, I whispered in her ear. Sophia, you're the best to me. At my words, Sophia's joy was so palpable, she almost floated with happiness. She cheerfully dragged me out of the company, insisting we have a good meal. I let her lead. But I took out my phone and sent a WeChat message to my lawyer. The message was simple. Is the contract ready? The other party, a seasoned lawyer, responded without hesitation. It's all set. No problem at all. It can be signed this afternoon. I put my phone away, feeling a weight lift from my chest. Who knew when Sophia's mind might suddenly clear? It was better to act quickly. Whether in business or marriage, the one who strikes first is often the one who gets the last laugh. Chapter 15. Sophia thought I was mature and gentle now, seeing how much I had changed over the years. But when I smiled at her, she still saw me as her James. She was incredibly curious about the gaps in her memory, constantly bombarding me with questions. I patiently answered each one. At first, we set up a small stall and earned our first bit of profit. I bought a broken machine from a scrap dealer, tinkered with it, and fixed it. We used it to make pirated music tapes and set up stalls on the streets. Later, our business grew rapidly, and we hired people to distribute the products. In our first week, we made 50,000 yuan. As I took a sip of lemon water in the elegant restaurant, I spoke softly. But businesses like ours attract the wrong kind of attention. We wandered into their territory and broke their rules. People showed up at our house with steel pipes and machetes looking for us. We had no choice but to give them most of our money before they would leave. Sophia looked at me, captivated by every word, believing them all because I was James. These were things I could indeed do for her. She trusted me like she trusted no one else. As I spoke, I had already cut my steak and handed it to her, gentle and considerate, emotionally delicate. The more I spoke, the more Sophia couldn't believe we had divorced. How could she? After everything we'd been through together, our love had stood the test of time. We'd weathered so many storms. If you told her that one day we would grow to hate each other, despise each other, curse each other, how could she possibly believe it? How absurd. I glanced at my phone. My lawyer had already arrived at the company. Immediately, I put down my knife and fork, saying I was full and had some unfinished work to take care of at the office. Sophia, always concerned about me, didn't even think before quickly finishing her steak. "What kind of work is so urgent that you can't finish a proper meal? Let me help you," she said. I smiled softly. "I really need your signature." Sophia didn't even hesitate. She didn't think, didn't question it. She simply waved her hand. "As long as I can help you, I'll do anything." Chapter 16. "What do you call this?" I said softly, showing concern as I held Sophia's hand tightly. As we crossed the street, I looked left and right, observing for 5 minutes before daring to lead her across. In the elevator, I made sure she kept a meter's distance from others, worried something might happen or someone might bump into her, turning her back into the woman who had cheated on me with her male secretary, ruining everything. The lawyer was already in my office, eager and ready. Several contracts were neatly laid out, and we had also set up recording and video equipment to prevent her from backing out later. Sophia looked at the setup, confused. The words on the contract, gift transfer, voluntary relinquishment, were puzzling to her. "What's all this for?" she asked. Her confusion evident. I didn't answer her directly, just gently caressed her face. "Do you want to give me everything you have?" I asked. Sophia was about to answer, but was suddenly struck with sharp pain in her head. The pain made her dizzy and unsteady. She groped for a seat, holding her head in agony, but I didn't let her go. I continued, "Do you want to give me your belongings?" Sophia, in severe pain, gritted her teeth and answered, "Everything I have is yours. If it weren't for you, I'd be dead. My things should be yours." The lawyer and I exchanged a look, and he quickly got to work. There were multiple places for Sophia to sign on the contracts, and the lawyer had thoughtfully marked them in advance. He swiftly turned the pages, guiding Sophia to sign each one. Sophia, though in pain and feeling faint, signed rapidly without looking, pushing through with my gentle words and a kiss on her cheek. That did it. She was as energetic as if she'd been injected with adrenaline. Ignoring the pain and dizziness, one person flipped the pages, the other signed quickly. Very efficient. Watching this, I felt satisfied. The last time we went through this, Sophia and I even fought, and it took a whole month just to get the divorce agreement signed. But this time, Sophia signed everything in 5 minutes. The lawyer quickly adjusted the recording and video equipment and brought out a prepared script for Sophia to read. Sophia's head was splitting with pain, But she didn't want to disappoint me. She didn't want to make me sad. She gritted her teeth to endure it. Everything was going smoothly. Too smoothly. Soon, I would regain my assets, my company, my shares, and Sophia would be left with nothing. At that moment, the tightly locked office door was smashed open with a fire axe. Chapter 17. The scene was shocking. Splinters flew everywhere as the door was violently broken down. We all froze, truly frightened. As expected, it was Sophia's trusted secretary coming to the rescue. Seeing the contract spread across the table and the recording equipment, the secretary went into a frenzy. She knew it. She knew I wasn't a good person. Considering the chaos, everything seemed about to spiral out of control. I had caused so much earlier, my madness and hatred were evident to everyone. There was no room for reconciliation now, but suddenly I switched gears, my face softening into a gentle smile. Surely I had an ulterior motive. The secretary immediately broke through the door, rushing in to stop everything. Sophia, still suffering from the splitting headache, stood up to protect me, shouting, "What are you doing here?" This nearly drove the secretary to the brink of insanity. Pointing at me in a panic, she yelled, "Boss, James is deceiving you. He's after your money. After your—" Sophia rolled her eyes, but her headache was so severe that her face twisted with pain. Seeing her boss in such a vulnerable state, the secretary was burning with frustration, but she was prepared. Without missing a beat, the secretary quickly opened the office door, pushing in someone in a wheelchair. "Boss, do you remember him? He's Ethan," the secretary shouted. "He's your man now." Ethan had obviously been hastily brought from the hospital, still wearing a patient gown, his wounds unhealed and covered in bandages and gauze, looking a complete mess. His right hand was twisted into a deformed lump. He was indeed disabled. At the sight of this, Sophia's headache seemed to ease, but her voice grew louder, her temper flaring. "Are you out of your mind? You think I would leave James for him?" This scene was heartbreaking. Ethan, knowing full well he had intentionally seduced Sophia and taken advantage of the situation, felt uncomfortable. Deep down, Sophia didn't think much of him, but hearing her harsh words still made him uneasy. "Ms. Stone, I am sincere towards you," he stammered. This pretty boy's logic was incredibly low, truly foolish. He kept repeating the same thing, and my ears were growing tired of hearing it. Sophia seemed to find this utterly ridiculous, and she didn't hold back in voicing her thoughts. In front of everyone, she mocked him, pointing at me. "I've known James for over 10 years. We've been married for 5 and we've weathered hardships together. You're telling me I would divorce James for someone like him? Am I an idiot? What is he compared to James?" Her words hit like a punch, and an eerie silence fell over the room. Sophia's question was sharp and accurate. We had known each other for so long, and our bond was unshakable. Could we really split over a low-level third party? Could we split over someone as foolish as Ethan? No. The problems had started much earlier, within our own relationship, and those problems were beyond repair. Chapter 18. The secretary opened her mouth but couldn't answer Sophia's question. While she had been breaking down the door, I had already made a call. The head of the company's security department was a relative of mine. At that moment, a large group of security guards rushed in like wolves, grabbing the secretary and Ethan, twisting their arms and pushing them out. Thanks to them, I bought myself the crucial last 10 minutes. The lawyer, filled with professional spirit, quickly completed the process with Sophia. With the final red fingerprint, everything was accomplished. The matter was settled. I was rich again. I gathered the contracts and the USB drive with the recordings and videos, locking them in a safe. Later, this safe would be deposited in a bank where no one could access it. The lawyer would hold copies to continue some remaining operations, ensuring that I would fully reclaim what was mine: money, shares, and the company. All of it was rightfully mine. The 20-year-old Sophia, while young, wasn't foolish. She understood what I intended to do with the whole process, but she still cooperated. She truly believed everything was rightfully mine because I was James. So when I asked her for something, she felt compelled to give it to me. But she had one question. Hesitant, she asked, "Was that guy really the pretty boy I found? Why would I find someone like him?" She seemed to have heard something completely ridiculous. "I already have you. Why would I need him?" I didn't bother lying anymore. I looked at her calmly and told her, We were doomed long ago. I think it all started when we lost our child. I paused, my gaze steady. Do you remember? My child was killed by you. Chapter 19. This was the first step toward the emotional destruction between us. However, the conflicts between us had already been sharp long before the child. Sophia once had a very happy and fulfilling family. Father Stone was a businessman, and Mother Stone was a music teacher who played the piano. Their home was warm, wealthy, and harmonious. Mother Stone would sit by the window, playing the piano, while Sophia and Father Stone played games in the living room. That scene stayed with Sophia, always in her heart. But then everything collapsed. When Sophia was 16, Father Stone's investment failed, leaving him deep in debt. Mother Stone chose to divorce him, and the family shattered. Her father fled in the middle of the night, leaving Sophia without any protection. Mother Stone, still being chased by creditors, pushed Sophia out to bear the burden. In that crucial moment, Mother Stone broke down, screaming, "I'm already divorced. He still has a daughter, doesn't he? Go after his daughter." The creditors threatened to cut off one of Sophia's hands to force Father Stone to return, but he never came back. What happened next was not hard to imagine. I became the most important person in Sophia's life. We supported each other, facing hardships together, and that's how we got to where we are today. On the day our startup saw some success, Father Stone returned. Over the years, Father Stone had suffered greatly. When he came back, he even had a limp. Mother Stone had remarried long ago. She now had a new, happy family, and even had children. In a way, Sophia's family had been completed again, making up for her past regrets. But now, her family was facing a significant problem. The son of one of her investors had grown close to Sophia, and their relationship was clearly ambiguous. In this win-win situation, Father Stone, being the businessman he was, eagerly hoped his daughter could seize this opportunity. After all, I was just a poor boy who started from scratch, but the other party was a genuine second-generation rich kid. Father Stone wanted Sophia to have a good life. But Sophia and I had already secretly married. We had kept our marriage private to make our work easier. To the public eye, Sophia was a successful, very beautiful woman. Who wouldn't want to be with someone so remarkable? For years, both Mother Stone and Father Stone felt deeply indebted to their daughter. After all, she had suffered greatly. Enduring both visible and hidden hardships, she had become quiet, cold, and stern, keeping everyone at arm's length. In contrast, I had grown smooth, worldly, and adaptable. Our relationship had started off strong, but the investor's offer was an even better chance for her to climb the social ladder. Father Stone and Mother Stone were well aware of our long-standing relationship, though they didn't know about our marriage. They approached me privately several times, hoping I would give Sophia up. Mother Stone even used her own example to try and persuade me. She told me that when Father Stone went bankrupt, he immediately divorced her to avoid dragging her down. She felt I should do the same for Sophia, let her pursue a better life, as it was unfair to hold her back. At the time, I had just finished a project, working insane hours for several days, and was completely exhausted. Sitting in front of them, I forced a smile and said, "I'm not stopping her from pursuing a better person. I'm stopping her from committing bigamy." They were utterly shocked. Without hesitation, I pulled out my phone and showed them a photo of our marriage certificate. "A complete victory," I said. "Sophia is wonderful, but there are many wonderful women. Even if she divorces me now to take a chance on being a divorced woman, they might not even look at her. Moreover, I built this company. If I leave, I will take half of it with me." This completely shut down their argument. Mother Stone and Father Stone were left speechless, and it made them harbor a grudge against me. Sophia loved me deeply, but I wasn't the son-in-law they had hoped for. For years, Sophia and I had faced life and death together. From the bottom of my heart, I felt not only like Sophia's husband but her most important comrade. But Sophia's parents were traditional. They believed in male superiority and thought the husband should earn money while the wife stayed home and enjoyed life. They never approved of me. After the incident with the investor's son, they resented me even more. They felt I had ruined Sophia's chance to be a wealthy wife, living a peaceful life. Why should their precious daughter work every day? The family was in constant turmoil. Sophia's parents argued with me, Sophia argued with them, and I argued with Sophia. Even my parents joined the battle. It was endless. My parents felt that after so many years, Sophia and I had endured enough hardships. My father shouted, "You two abandoned your daughter and ran away back then, and now you come out acting all high and mighty." But Sophia's parents didn't see it that way. They thought I wasn't good enough for Sophia, looked down on me, and even wanted me to hand over half of my company to her. The family crisis dragged on for about 3 or 4 years. Even the best relationship couldn't withstand that kind of torment. But one day, things took a turn. Sophia unexpectedly got pregnant. Chapter 20. At first, Sophia didn't want to keep the child. By then, Sophia and I had already started having a cold war. Sophia's mother had heart disease, and she felt I shouldn't be so hard on her. But when Sophia got pregnant, her parents pushed me even harder, frantically forcing me to transfer all my assets to Sophia. They tried to make me give up everything. I refused. In the end, they chose the most extreme way. One day after work, I took the elevator to the B2 floor of the company, ready to drive home. Suddenly, a group of people rushed out, covering my head with a bag and shoving me into a car. Having been in business for many years, I'd encountered retaliation before, so I fought back fiercely. During the struggle, Sophia's father hit me hard on the head right at the temple. Blood poured from my nose and I collapsed, my vision going white. I lay there helpless, unable to move. When I regained consciousness, I found everyone frozen, staring at me in horror. Their hats and masks had been torn off, revealing their true identities. They were Sophia's relatives. There I was, lying on the ground, blood pouring from my mouth, eyes, ears, and nose, looking terrifying. "He's going to die!" someone shouted in panic. "You said to teach him a lesson! Now he's going to die!" No one dared to move. In the end, the company's security guards were the ones who took me to the hospital. My parents were furious. They had never been so angry. Back then, I was their only son. I insisted on being with Sophia and worked tirelessly to help pay off her family's debts. Over the years, I endured immense hardship, and my parents were already dissatisfied with Sophia. After everything that had happened, they directly called the police, determined to send Sophia's father to jail. At this point, Sophia knelt on the ground, begging my parents for mercy. "Fine, I'll let them go," she said, her voice trembling. My mother, sitting by my hospital bed, cried, "Why didn't your parents let my son go? What did my son do wrong? Yes, he's not a rich kid, but look at how he's treated you all these years. Do you have no conscience?" She paused, then added, "You asked me to spare your parents, but where were you when they were beating my son?" Each word pierced Sophia's heart. Sophia, still kneeling, was trembling all over, her face pale. But with resolve, she said firmly, "That's my father. I'll watch him go to jail. If you don't let him go, I'll abort the child and divorce James." My parents were enraged. "What good is a daughter-in-law like this?" they shouted. In the end, no one could persuade them otherwise. My parents steadfastly pressed charges against Sophia's father, refusing to reconcile. He was eventually convicted of intentional injury and sent to prison. True to her word, Sophia went to the hospital alone and had the baby aborted. Her heart was truly ruthless. Because of this incident, our relationship faded. Endless arguments, daily mutual torment. Not to mention her father was still in prison. How could we stay together after all that? How could we face each other? A broken mirror, shattered into countless pieces, could never be made whole again. Even if a deity descended, I hated Sophia in my heart. I hated her parents. We had been doing well, but her parents insisted on criticizing my humble background, looking down on me for not being a rich kid, and forcing me to transfer all my assets to them. Why should I give up everything just because they demanded it? I wasn't that kind of person. I, James, am a good man, but even I have my limits. Fire, wind, knives, and evil flow through me. The situation only escalated. I refused to back down. I refused to forgive. In the end, we lost our child. Sophia lost her father again. We resented each other, blamed each other. We argued, cursed, shouted, and raged. Our love died bit by bit, and then I caught Sophia and her male secretary in bed. At that moment, I only felt relief. Trapped in this torturous relationship, I was already exhausted. Finally, an outsider entered, and everything collapsed completely. Our marriage had come to an end. Of course, I never imagined that one day I would see the young Sophia again, see the woman who had loved me the most. When we were young, we didn't know that one day we would end up like this. But now everything could never go back. Chapter 21. As it turned out, my preemptive move was justified. Just after I had taken all of Sophia's assets, Ethan snapped. He couldn't stand being publicly humiliated by Sophia, nor could he accept being involved with a woman who had lost everything. Was all his effort really for this? Sophia, with a splitting headache, staggered out to go to the hospital. Ethan needed to go back to the hospital as well. The secretary drove, and they both sat in the back seat. The car was silent. Seeing Sophia in such a groggy, painful state, Ethan suddenly lost his composure. His hatred overwhelmed him, and in a fit of rage, he opened the car door and pushed Sophia out while the car was moving. The door suddenly swung open, and with a deliberate shove, although the speed wasn't high, the unprepared Sophia still fell hard. Fortunately, there weren't many cars on the road, so she didn't end up under the wheels, but her head struck the roadside greenery with force. "Are you crazy?" The secretary slammed on the brakes, terrified, yelling, "Mrs. Stone, what did you do? You're trying to break up their relationship and make them divorce, not kill her." But Ethan, sitting in the back seat, began to laugh hysterically. "Madness! They're all mad," he said, laughing maniacally. "That old lady asked you to kick James out of the company. Did you manage that?" The secretary quickly got out of the car to help Sophia, who was lying limp by the greenery, a pool of blood forming under her head. Her condition was uncertain. Chapter 22. After depositing the safe in the bank, I received another call from the hospital. Last time, Sophia crashed into the guardrail. This time, she crashed into the greenery. I couldn't help but think it was impressive and a bit stupid. I didn't want to go, but the frantic call from the secretary annoyed me, so I went. I thought maybe the 20-year-old Sophia, in her confusion, was just hard to handle, and going to the hospital would help ease her mind. So when I arrived quickly at the hospital, ready to calm her down, the curtain was pulled back, and I saw a pair of calm, tired eyes staring back at me. I was stunned. Sophia lay on the hospital bed, her head wrapped in thick bandages. I stood a short distance away, unsure of what to do next. I said nothing because for a long time there had been nothing left to say between us. Finally, I politely said, "Miss Stone, long time no see." She didn't respond but looked at me with those calm, tired eyes. "Take care and get well," I said gently. "Next Wednesday at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Let's not have any more accidents." Chapter 23. Victor was arrested. This was something I never expected. His crazy act led the police to intervene and investigate. They retrieved the dash cam footage from Sophia's previous car accident. The footage recorded their argument, with Victor hysterical and Sophia dismissive. I also learned something important. Victor had been hired by Sophia's mother. He was the son of Sophia's mother's best friend, and his goal was clear, to push me out and become the wealthy son-in-law. The secretary, too, was employed by Sophia's mother. She had been part of a premeditated plan against me. But Victor was a lunatic. On the highway, he grabbed Sophia's steering wheel, and with the car moving fast, it swerved and crashed straight into the guardrail before flipping over. Victor, sitting on the right side, was severely injured. This time, he went mad again, successfully landing himself in prison. Hearing all this, my feelings were complicated. Parents love their children so much that they treat others' children like dirt. Maybe Miss Stone was simply destined to never have a good marriage. At that moment, we stood at the entrance of the Civil Affairs Bureau, holding our documents and waiting for our number to be called. I said sarcastically, "All the men you've met are a bit crazy, either work crazy or love crazy. Next time, keep your eyes open and find a rich, handsome second-generation guy to make your parents happy. I just wonder which poor guy will be unlucky enough to be your family's servant." Sophia's head injury wasn't healed yet. Her head was wrapped in thick bandages, making her look a bit ridiculous. Inside the Civil Affairs Bureau, people were getting married, people were getting divorced, and there was a lot of laughter and arguments. My sarcasm was nothing compared to the noise around us. Sophia looked at me, tired and confused. Maybe her head injury was really affecting her as she suddenly asked, "Do you hate me?" I asked back, "Don't you hate me?" She shook her head. "No." I laughed, then said, "Thank you, sincerely. After all, now you're the one leaving with nothing." Then, to my utmost surprise, Sophia, holding the marriage certificate in her hand, suddenly took my hand. Her tone softened, cautious and pleading. "Can we not get divorced? Can we start over? It's over." Her head was really damaged, and my expression shifted slightly. "Did you lose your memory again?" "No, James," she said. At that moment, I thought I might die. My past flashed before my eyes like a lantern. "It's my fault. Can we start over?" Facing her plea, I didn't answer right away. Instead, I asked her, "Do you know what I was thinking when you had that car accident?" Sophia shook her head, indicating she didn't know. "At that time, I was sitting right there." I pointed to a corner in the Civil Affairs Bureau, "waiting for you for 4 or 5 hours, and you didn't show up. Do you know that when I heard you had an accident and lost your memory, I thought, why didn't you just die?" Sophia froze, and I laughed. "If you had died in that accident, I would have inherited everything. No one would think I'm pitiful. If you had died, that would have been the best ending." "You ask if I hate you? How could I not hate you? I'm 30, cheated on, kicked out of the company with no career and no family. I've suffered for half my life. Your parents mistreated me, hurt me, and you, in our home, in our marital bed, with another man. You ask if I hate you? I wish you'd die right now." I laughed hysterically, tears almost spilling out, unsure of whether I was laughing at her stupidity or the thought that she could come back. Sophia stood there, speechless. The red marriage certificate was taken from our hands, and the divorce certificate was issued. I was satisfied. As I left, I got into the car and looked back, seeing Sophia still standing there. I suddenly turned around and said to her, "If you can't get over it, you can hate me. The extra share of marital property I took is what you owe me. If you're not satisfied, sue me." Her lips trembled and she looked miserable. The 20-year-old and 30-year-old Sophia overlapped in her eyes. When we were 20, our love was strong, and at 30, we were still wealthy. Now she had lost everything. From now on, I would completely leave her. She stood there, watching me drive away, never turning back. So be it. The story isn't long nor hard to tell. We met, but couldn't love. She would move on to her future, and I to mine. The greatest regret in the world is that we once started well, but couldn't end well. Even though many years ago, when we were still young, we thought we could walk through countless mountains and rivers together.